What's good, everybody? You already know, checking in with you, Webby Web Jeff Lightsy. We got to give you that talk.
Yes.
That important talk that you guys probably been waiting on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, let's get right to it, man. NBA free agency kind of wrapped up, but hey, let's just dive right into it. Big name.
So, of course, the biggest fish in the biggest pond to finally make a decision. One of the last people to make a decision was Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And of course that came with the blockbuster trade that sent Paul George and Paul George to the Clippers along with Kawhi Leonard. And that sent 5 first-round picks back to Oklahoma City Thunder, 1 unprotected, and 2 players. So it was like that was the earthquake, right?
Yeah, and it happened so late at night, too.
That shook up the NBA. So, I mean, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard teaming up with the Clippers to go with Pat Beverly, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, and that gang of guys. Yeah. That is what is the talk of the NBA. And I think it is something that what a lot of people think brought balance to the NBA. Of course, with Paul George and Kawhi going there, KD and Kyrie going to Brooklyn, and of course AD and LeBron in LA. It is definitely something that is going to have NBA fans going crazy on next season. There's legit like 10 to 12 fan bases that think they have a chance in next season,
which is wild.
During next season, and that's something we haven't seen in a long time in the NBA.
Yeah, and I'm going to 100% agree with you, and I respect Kawhi for actually going to the Clippers because, I mean, as much as I want him to go to L.A., let's just think realistically. Now it's going to make the NBA even more fun. I mean, we got even though I know we talk about out west, but then when we look out east as well, you know, we got the KD, Kyrie. We don't know when KD is going to be officially back, but we know Kyrie starting to add different pieces around him as well. So it's going to make things more interesting. I'm glad. I think it's going to be more balanced. I don't think there's going to be a 10-team race. I think it's going to still be your kind of traditional teams that have that background and that history of winning and with decent coaches as well. Now, I know this is kind of early, but I am kind of surprised about the Clippers. I think that LA matchup is going to be something we should all be looking forward to.
Well, definitely Staples Center will be sold out 82 nights a game.
Easily.
So the 41 home games the Clippers play, the 41 home games the Lakers play, I mean, it's going to be sold out every single night because you have 4 legit superstars. Well, I mean, pretty much superstars. I mean, Kawhi and LeBron are in 2 different stratospheres, and then you got AD and Paul George are in the lower tier, but they're still pretty great. You know what I mean? So, like MVP candidates type great. I think that having all of those guys in a market like LA, getting Kyrie and Kevin Durant in a market like Brooklyn, even though it was not the Knicks, but it's still New York. Having the Knicks spurned and not getting anybody is a story in by itself. I mean, they cleared up all this cap space. They tanked the whole season to get Zion. They didn't get Zion. They didn't get Durant. They didn't get Kyrie. They didn't get Kim, but they didn't get anybody.
They didn't get nobody.
They got a Julius Randle and Bobby Portis. You know what I mean? So like that, all of those are stories in itself. And I think the NBA, one thing that the NBA does better than pretty much any other American sports league is the soap opera, right? Like the NFL, like it's the biggest brand, right? Like, I mean, NFL's king, but they don't have these pieces and these characters that are determining things like players in the NBA. Simply because one player doesn't make a great of a difference. Maybe a quarterback as an NBA player like LeBron or Kawhi. Like Kawhi Leonard, like we just said, like literally shifted the powers of the NBA, right? Like he took it from Toronto. Like if he goes back to Toronto, they're in finals contention, right? He moves away from them, they might not make the playoffs, right? Like they'll probably be in the lottery. Whereas like and LeBron, same way with Cleveland. He leaves Cleveland to have the worst record in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's like one player in the NBA really can shift and really make a paradigm shift in the entire league. And what makes it even more interesting is guys in the NFL fight for like money and all this guaranteed money. These NBA guys leave millions on the table just to go where they want to go because they feel like, hey, I can win a championship and I can make that money back, or I can do something else. I'm just happier, right? Like Kawhi leaving Toronto, he could have signed for $5,190. He goes to the Clippers, signs for $4,142. Now, $442 million isn't bad, but it's $50 million left on the table. And then by getting traded out of San Antonio, he left another $30 million. So we're talking about roughly $80 million on the table but he ends up where he wants to play. So that's where, I mean, that is just crazy how the NBA and the soap opera that is the NBA continues to just like keep us enamored even throughout the offseason.
Yeah, regardless, off season, regular season, there's always drama, and there's like that NC's going on because, like, you know, different players announce on different social media platforms where they're going. It's like you're totally in tuned in compared to NFL. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this player signs a contract, but like it's kind of stagnant necessarily. It doesn't have too much drama to it necessarily.
Yeah, well, the NFL kind of like taboos drama, right? Like, who's the most fascinating player in the NFL, roughly? I'd say what, Odell Beckham or somebody?
Yeah.
But think about how they paint Odell Beckham, right? Like, Odell Beckham is seen as a drama king or drama, you know, whatever, or Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, exactly. Like, those are things that NFL, like, no. Like, that is taboo. We do not do, we're the NFL. We are the shield. We are about the team and about, you know, the shield and all this, whereas NBA, like, LeBron's like, man, I'm about LeBron more than an athlete, uninterrupted. Like, I'm about me. You know, Kevin Durant announced on the boardroom, right? Like his own platform. Kyrie's Uncle Drew. You know what I mean? Like, they take on these personas and these personalities. You know, Kawhi's got the claw going, New Balance, Boardman gets paid. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are about, like, of course they want to go out and win. I mean, we're not talking about scrubs. Kevin Durant, 2 championships. Kawhi, 2. LeBron, 3. Like, they're winning, but they also want to take care of themselves, right? Like, they also want to take care of their brand. They are a brand. Like, they are their own shield, and that's what makes the NBA very, very fascinating.
Man, I totally agree with you because it's something we all look forward to. Any type of fan of basketball and sports in general will probably agree most of the time with us. So as we transition, I know Kawhi. We mentioned a couple other names. What were some other free agents that kind of stuck out to you that joined the team that you were kind of surprised about?
So I think the Jimmy Butler trade to Miami Heat was one I didn't see coming. I thought Philly would run back the team that they had. I thought they'd choose Butler over Tobias Harris, but I was wrong. You know, they signed Tobias to a 5-year, $180 million contract and shipped Jimmy Butler out to the Heat. But the haul that they got back from the Heat was really good. They got a nice young player in Josh Richardson. They got some draft picks. And then from the freed up space, what they didn't use on Jimmy Butler, they were able to use on Al Horford. I wasn't crazy about the Al Horford signing, honestly. Like, I'm not really a huge fan of it, but to act like Al Horford doesn't make them a better team, I'm not going to act like it doesn't. Like, Al Horford plays really good defense. He can stretch the floor, and he's somebody that I think he's great for the locker room. And I think he's somebody that can motivate Joel Embiid to get in shape and stay healthy. You know what I mean? And then when Joel Embiid, because of his injury history, can't do the back-to-backs or can't play, Al Horford is a solid piece. Now, I don't know how great he fits because they have a lot of big dudes, right? Like, they probably have the biggest lineup in the NBA. I think Tobias Harris stands about 6'8". Ben Simmons, we know, is about 6'10". Al Horford, 6'10", and Joel Embiid's a 7-footer. Like, that is a lot of size. And I don't know how fast, quick up and down the floor that lineup, that style of lineup can move, but they do have a lot of great players over in Philly. So Philly is a team to watch out for. The Jimmy Butler trade is the one that shocked me at first.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna stay out east as well. And I'm gonna go honestly with the Hornets. Okay, you lose Kemba, right? But then you get Terry Rozier. Like, if I think he's a premier player. I mean, even watching when he was a little, I thought
I'm a Terry fan.
I think he has something different, and I like that cat. You know what I'm saying? He brings a different type of style, and I believe that playing alongside Miles and Nicholas, I think it's going to be one of those teams to watch out for. They might not make – I'm not saying they're going to make noise, but they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah, my thing with Terry is he's a lesser version of Kemba, and they weren't able to really do much with Kemba. I mean, at least as of right now, right? Like, Kemba is a lot more proven than Terry Rozier has. A lot of people didn't like the money that they gave Terry. I mean, they gave Terry almost $20 million a year. I think it was like 3 for $58.
Yeah.
So it was like
50,
like 3 for $58, so something like $18 million a year, somewhere around there. Like, that is a lot of money for a guy that isn't proven, at least to a lot of people. So, but I like Terry. I think he just didn't get the opportunity and the chance to thrive in Boston like he would want to. So I definitely like the Terry signing. So I'm not mad at that.
Okay, so then now let's look at Boston. You got Kemba, Gordon, and Jason. Like, is that a new duo? Is that a new trio we should look at, or is that?
No.
You don't think that?
No. So Boston Celtics. So basically, the Brooklyn Nets did what the Boston Celtics have been trying to do for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
They signed Kevin Durant, they signed Kyrie Irving, and now once Kevin Durant comes back, they'll be a favorite in the East.
Yeah.
Maybe the favorite. I mean, as long as Kevin Durant is 90% of what he has been his whole career, which I think he'll get back pretty much close to 100 because of his style of play. As long as he's that, like, they will be, to me, the team to beat in the East. I mean, Philly will still be a formidable opponent. Milwaukee will be really good. And then Boston will be really good. But Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, like the combination of those two is going to be hard for anybody to beat. But my thing is with Boston. So for the last couple seasons, they had a chance to trade for the premier person on the premier player on the market, right? Like you can't tell me if Boston doesn't get rid of Tatum and maybe Brown for Kawhi Leonard. They don't win a championship last year, right? With Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, like they win the championship. You can't tell me the year before Boston, if they get rid of, all they had to get rid of was Jaylen Brown and one of their plethora of first-round picks. They don't get Paul George. They're probably in contention and maybe win the East last year. Maybe win the championship, you know? Like with Kyrie Irving and Paul George. Like you can't tell me that isn't a thing that could have happened. And so because they were so hell-bent on keeping Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all these like future draft picks or whatever, they didn't go out and get a premier player. And so they have to hope and pray that Jason Tatum and or Jaylen Brown becomes a Paul George or become, I mean, Lord knows, a Kawhi Leonard. Because if they don't,
it's over.
They're going to look back. Danny Ainge and their fan base and this organization is going to look back and be kicking themselves in the tail thinking like, wow, we could have had one of these guys. Maybe it would have been for a 1 or 2 year rental, but we could have got a championship out of one of these guys. And I don't know if Tatum or Jaylen Brown is that guy. I just don't.
So you think it's going to be with this year necessarily? Would you say that's going to really determine a lot of players like growth, like a lot of 3-year, 2-year players? Like if they're not peaking right now, is it like okay, you're just going to go right into the other fall off the planet type of guys?
So with me, with players both in any sport, I normally do a review after year 3, right? Like year 3 kind of pretty much shows the trajectory of what kind of player you're going to be, right? Like for example, it's hard to compare players to like LeBron James, but by year 3, LeBron James averaged 30 a game. It's like, okay, this guy's going to be pretty good. Like you can see that the year 1, but it's like year 3, he averaged 30 a game. It's like, all right, this guy's he's special. But if you're averaging like 20, 21, 22 points a game by year 3, I was like, okay, you got a chance to be really, really good by year 1. But I want to see at least a steady growth, a steady progression. And that way, I thought I was going to see it in Jason Tatum, but it looked like he regressed last year. Now, granted, whether it was their style of play, whether it's having Kyrie Irving back, Gordon Hayward back to mess them up, I don't know. But he kind of regressed last year. So this year, I really want to see how good he can be because Kyrie's gone. You know what I mean? Like, and it looks like they're going to center their offense around a Kemba and around a Jason Tatum. And so I really want to see like what can we get out of Tatum, out of Brown? What can the Boston Celtics do?
So the Boston Celtics, we're going to have to see how they shape out this year, Jeff. We're really going to have to see. So let's stay on NBA talk still. Let's talk a little bit about Westbrook. Yeah. What's going on with Westbrook, man?
So, Westbrook has an untradeable contract.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean,
who's going to pick that up, though?
I mean, there's talks of the Miami Heat, and literally the only reason the Miami Heat would do that is to bring people to the stadium. Don't get me wrong. Westbrook is a crowd favorite. He is someone that can, he can sell tickets. I mean, because he's Mr. Triple-Double. But as far as fit and as far as winning, contending for a championship, I mean, you get 2 stars, like what you need in today's NBA, and him and Jimmy Butler, but fit matters, right? Like coaching matters, fit matters, and those 2 don't fit. Yeah. We got 2 guys that Westbrook can't really shoot. I mean, he shoots like 20-something%. He doesn't shoot free throws well anymore. Yeah. And then Jimmy Butler's a decent shooter, but those 2 guys are like hotheads, right? Like they're
not going to work.
I just don't see it fitting. And then not to mention Westbrook is owed $170 million over the next 4 years. Like Westbrook signed, like I think at the time was the second largest contract in the history of the NBA, maybe the largest. I don't know. It was $200 million over $200 million over 5 years, and he's got 4 years left on his deal.
Nobody's picking that
and
up,
so to pay Westbrook, I think it goes 40, 42, 44, and then $47 million on that last and final year. I just don't see anybody on a aging athletic point guard in year 11 who can't shoot in today's NBA. Like, I just don't see I wouldn't pick it up if I was Miami Heat. I wouldn't pick it up if I was anybody. Now, I understand Westbrook wanting to leave because he don't want to be a part of a rebuild team, because Oklahoma City, with all those draft picks, is going to be rebuilding, and they're not going to be any good next year. But I know $170 million over 4 years for Westbrook, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, Westbrook is definitely one of those players that's kind of like, I mean, now people are looking like, was Westbrook the problem overall? I mean, then we look at Paul George. I mean, we know how he's like, okay, well, I'm gone. I'm trying to win now. So that's been his attitude since he left Indy. Period, point blank. Yeah. Like, he's demanded to go to LA. Yeah,
and he's been trying to get there.
Yeah, he's finally got to LA. He got to the Clippers, but it's still one of those things where, like, let's look. I'm really interested to see how Westbrook shapes out this year, because, like, really, I mean, you got these, like you said, you have all these draft picks, and then you have the roster you have now. How are you going to really shape out, man?
Well, that's the thing. That's why he's trying to get out. Yeah. He's not trying to see how the Thunder shape out. So you asked, is it really Westbrook's fault? I mean, he is to blame for a lot of it. And here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I love Russell Westbrook. He's one of my favorite players to really play basketball. Like, one of the players I love to watch play is Russell, LeBron, Dame Lillard. Like, I love watching those guys play. But to act like he isn't to blame for guys like Kevin Durant leaving and Paul George Paul George, he was there for 2 years. And you see the writing on the wall. 2 years, 2 first-round exits. You know what I mean? Like, they got beaten 5 games by Portland. Not to say Portland was a scrubs. Portland made it to West Conference Finals, but you got beaten 5 games in the first round. Like, that is not what Paul George signed up to do. And you pretty much don't see anything getting better, right? So that's why when Kawhi comes to you and say, hey, come team up with me and Clippers, you seen what I just did in Toronto with Kyle Lowry, you know what I mean, and Fred VanVleet. What do you think I can do with you? Right. You know what I mean? Like, so Paul George sees that and takes his first class ticket to LA. So I don't blame him for that. And I don't really blame Russ for that, right? But to act like Russ isn't part of the problem just would be naive, right? Like, so Russ, I mean, his game has to adapt. He hasn't adapted to today's game. Like, he's about the triple. Like, the triple-double makes him a legend, right? Like, averaging a triple-double in 3 straight years like that, like, that's legendary.
Yeah, that's special right there.
Yeah, he'll go down as an icon. But the thing is, he will also, for the guys that'll be old enough to remember that watched him play, he will also be known as a guy that was hard to play with. Yeah, I mean, he's just simply hard to play with. I mean, he's a great person, right? Like, teammates love him, right? Like, Paul George loved him. That's what made him stay. Kevin Durant, before the falling out, they were really good friends. We see Russ hanging out with Chris Paul and LeBron, Harden, James Harden. Like, these guys are friends. But to act like he's not a hard guy to play with, it'd be lying to yourself. Like, he is a tough guy to play with because his game really hasn't adapted, right? Besides the going after every rebound, but, like, he's got to get better at shooting. Like, you got to learn how to shoot in 2019, and you got to learn how. I mean, I know he has these high assist numbers, but just watch the way he does it. It's almost like he's fighting for the assist instead of, like, playing within the game. You know what I mean? Letting the game come to him. It's almost like forcing the issue, and so I think that wears on players, and that's tough for a guy like Russ, because I love Russ, but to act like that isn't a factor to pushes guys out the door. Correct. I'd be lying.
Man, 100%. Jeff, hey, it's early, right? It's early, but let's talk favorites. Early favorites. Let's give the listeners a little bit of tease. I'll start, okay? Yeah. Honestly, it's one of those things where I've been sitting on, I think L.A., the Lakers, have a tremendous shot now. Well, having Avery Bradley. You got AD, you got LeBron. I mean, you got Rondo, you got Cousins, you got Danny Green. Like, you have contenders on there. Like, you have people that have experience. I'm going LA. Yeah, I'm going with LA. How about you?
So the Lakers and the Clippers, like, LA period is just where all the favorites lie, right? Yeah, like, I don't, as great as Giannis, unless he makes a leap that I don't see happening, but I mean, he's already MVP, but if he gets to around 35% shooting from 3, okay, then Milwaukee, we might have to talk about Milwaukee a little bit, because that'd be pretty special. But I have to see that to know that it's happening. Philly, like I said, has got a really good team. I think they're the favorites in the East. To me, I think they're the team that's going to come out the East with their lineup. As long as Joel Embiid is healthy, but that's the only thing. You got to hope Joel Embiid is healthy. And I got to see something from Ben Simmons, man. I got to see him try to at least try to shoot outside of 5 feet from the basket.
He's not going
right.
For
like
that,
I mean, we got to
that.
see. Like I said, this is year 3. I mean, I got to see Ben Simmons up his point per game average from around 15 to closer to around 20.
Yeah,
and I'd be a really high on really high on Philly. But as far as the NBA goes, the favorites lie in LA. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers make them special, make them pretty dangerous. But I think the way the Lakers were able, because you had to wait to see what Kawhi does, right? Like you had to keep that roster spot and that money open in case Kawhi decided to pick you. And even though Kawhi didn't pick the Lakers, I think the way they were able to snatch up pieces, guys like Avery Bradley, guys like DeMarcus Cousins, you know what I mean? Like Danny Green, like able to snatch up these pieces. Kyle Korver is still out there. He has a potential chance to sign. I think that gives you a legit shot, and I think I wouldn't bet against LeBron, Anthony Davis, and those guys. People are forgetting that because at first, the biggest problem with the Lakers last year was shooting and defense, right? And you address those things. Avery Bradley can shoot. He can play D. Great defender. Danny Green can shoot, great defender. You know what I mean? Like they have Kyle Kuzma, even though he doesn't shoot that well last year, he can shoot. He can shoot. He's a good shooter. And then you have Anthony Davis, that's great defender. You know what I mean? Like great defender, can stretch the floor, and just a special talent, right? So like the Lakers' influx of talent, you know, swapping out guys like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart for guys like Avery Bradley, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis. I'm going with the Lakers slightly over the Clippers, but I think that'll be the Western Conference Finals, and that team will face Philly. I think the Lakers will face Philly in the NBA Finals. Early prediction: the Lakers take it home in 6.
Yeah, so we can see how things are going to shape out.
Yeah,
over the course of
this is also
that's
July.
Also, July 10th.
July, so yeah.
But I'm really interested to see because I believe that the Clippers, like you said, they are pretty scary. They
pretty
got
dangerous.
Very
dangerous.
And then they got Lou coming off the bench. So it's like,
Lou is a beast.
I think Patrick Beverly, he has a mindset like I'm not friends with y'all right now. Like we seen at the summer league, he's dapping up. He's dabbing LeBron on like some AI. It's cool. Like it's like they about to play in the summer league. Like come on, bro. I'm really excited about that because like I mean that's what the NBA wants. The battle of LA. It's literally the battle of LA now. So like it's not. And then they got Doc Rivers as coach. So it's not like it's going. They're going to add a different spot. And I'm really interested to see how Paul George. I'm calling Paul George out. I'm calling Paul George out. This is your year to prove something to me because like I mean you've been ring chasing. And I don't see it, so I just got to see it.
We'll see, man.
Yeah, we'll see. But, hey, make sure y'all like, subscribe. Apple Podcast, Spotify, we all on there. Till next time.